Hoping against hope that Tom would finally see the incredible potential in our venture, I hesitantly suggested, I could ask my mom for the money? The mere thought of involving my mother sent a sickening wave of anxiety churning in my stomach. No, absolutely not, I blurted out, the words escaping faster and with more force than I intended. We can handle this on our own. Tom looked genuinely surprised by my vehemence, but simply nodded. Okay, he conceded, a hint of detachment in his voice. It's all on you then. I'm officially out of the hotel business side of things. Deal, I agreed quickly, a wave of immense relief washing over me. I knew deep down that I could handle this daunting task. What I couldn't bear was the constant friction, the subtle undermining of my vision. I just needed him not to fight me on this one crucial thing. To celebrate this newfound autonomy, this clearing of the air, I pulled out a bottle of crisp white wine from the fridge and 2 elegant glasses. To our new adventure, I declared, filling the glasses with a dramatic flourish. Tom raised his glass, a reluctant smile slowly creeping onto his face. To your new adventure, he corrected gently, and we clinked glasses. The delicate sound a counterpoint to the swirling emotions within me. As we sipped the wine, a giddy excitement began to bubble up inside me. Imagine it, Tom, I exclaimed, my voice filled with enthusiasm. A cozy little hotel nestled right by the slopes. Guests coming back all flushed from a day of skiing, relaxing by a roaring fire. With you bossing around a bunch of staff and fluffing pillows, Tom joked, a flicker of genuine amusement finally lighting up his eyes. I could tell he was starting to warm up to the idea, seeing the sheer joy it brought me. And just like that, it was settled. I was finally on my way to making my long-cherished dream a reality. No meddling mother-in-law, just me and a building brimming with untapped potential, waiting to be transformed into the most charming little hotel by the slopes. I bought the room, but it wasn't just any room. It was the very seat of my dream, the foundation for a small family-run hotel conveniently located right next to a bustling ski resort. I had grand plans, ambitious visions of eventually acquiring the neighboring rooms and expanding, creating a true haven for vacationers. But first things first, renovations. Every single day after my regular job, I would hustle over to the construction site, the cacophony of hammers and drills becoming the soundtrack to my evenings. The builders and the interior designer, Sarah, became my new companions, their expertise invaluable as I navigated this daunting project. Let's keep the rustic charm, I'd emphasize to Sarah as we walked through the echoing empty shell that would soon be filled with the happy chatter of guests, but modernize where it truly counts. Got it, boss, Sarah would reply, her eyes sparkling with creative energy. How about these tiles for the bathroom? She held up a sample, the cool ceramic reflecting the bare light bulb hanging above. Perfect, I'd nod decisively, scribbling furiously on my ever-present clipboard. Between choosing paint swatches that evoked warmth and selecting fixtures that blended functionality with style, I found myself neck-deep in a mountain of paperwork, juggling permits and licenses like a stressed-out circus performer. Each night, I'd crawl back home well past midnight, my brain still buzzing with floor plans and endless to-do lists. Then there was Tom. I'd often arrive home to find a chaotic scene, dirty dishes piled precariously in the sink, and greasy takeout boxes littering the kitchen counter. Tom, I'd begin, my voice weary, can you help out a bit here? It looks like a bomb hit this place. He'd look up from his video game, a flicker of surprise on his face. But babe, he'd protest mildly, you knew what this was going to be like. I told you I'm hands-off with the hotel. It's not just the hotel, Tom. It's this mess too, I'd retort, trying to keep the frustration from boiling over. I'm not asking you to swing a hammer, just maybe pick up a sponge. Tom would simply shrug, his attention already drifting back to the glowing screen. That's your gig, Deb. I didn't sign up for this. Every fiber of my being wanted to scream, to unleash the pent-up exhaustion and resentment. But instead, I'd grit my teeth, take a deep breath, and keep pushing forward with the hotel, my dream. I didn't just oversee the renovations. I got my hands dirty too. I hauled trash bags overflowing with construction debris, scrubbed grime-covered windows until they sparkled, and swept dust-choked floors. The workers probably thought I was crazy, this woman in sensible shoes and determined eyes lugging buckets of soapy water across the vast, empty lobby. But I wasn't above any task that would bring us closer to opening day. "Deb, you sure you don't want to leave that to us?" Joe, one of the burly builders, asked one afternoon as I struggled with an unwieldy bucket. "No way, Joe," I replied, wiping sweat from my brow with the back of my hand. "This is my baby. I want to make sure every single corner is perfect." As the days rolled into weeks, the place began to transform. The 10 rooms started to take shape, each imbued with its own cozy vibe, inviting and warm. The furniture arrived, plush sofas you could sink into, beds that promised a restful night's sleep, and carefully chosen art that made each space feel like home. When the staff finally came on board, I felt a potent mix of nerves and exhilaration. I trained them myself, pouring my heart and soul into sharing my vision, desperately hoping they would love this place, this dream, as much as I did. "All booked up for opening weekend, boss." Jenny, our bright-eyed new receptionist, beamed at me one evening, the reservation book clutched triumphantly in her hands. A wave of pure, unadulterated joy washed over me. "Thanks, Jenny," I said, a wide smile stretching across my face, my heart swelling with pride. "It's all coming together, isn't it?" "Absolutely," Jenny exclaimed. "People are buzzing about this place already." Walking through the completed hotel, now vibrant with carefully chosen decor and the promise of welcoming guests, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment that was hard to articulate. The countless tired evenings, the endless stream of decisions, the physical and mental marathon, it had all been worth it. This hotel was mine. Built on my terms, fueled by my sweat and determination. In just a few short weeks, my dream would be fully alive, and despite the unexpected hurdles, I felt ready. I had built something from nothing, and now it was time to see it thrive. The eve of the grand opening was supposed to be a time for final touches and celebratory toasts. A moment to savor the culmination of so much hard work. Instead, it turned into a battleground. My phone rang, the insistent jingle shattering the peaceful anticipation, and I knew from the caller ID that peace was about to be violently disturbed. It was Susan, my mother-in-law. "Deborah, darling," Susan's voice rang out, sharp and imperious. "I need you to book 4 rooms for me and my friends this weekend." Her tone brooked no argument, radiating an infuriating sense of entitlement. My stomach plummeted. "Susan, that's impossible," I said, trying to keep my voice level despite the rising panic. "We're fully booked." I told everyone how quickly the rooms filled up. The line crackled with her barely suppressed fury. "Listen here," she hissed, her voice laced with menace. "I will not be sidelined. If you don't make room for me, I'll make sure your precious little hotel can't open at all." I clenched my teeth, my knuckles white as I gripped the phone. "That's not how this is going to work, Susan. I can't just kick out guests who booked weeks in advance." She hung up with a sharp, dismissive huff, leaving me staring at my phone in utter disbelief, a cold dread settling in the pit of my stomach. The very next morning, as if summoned by Susan's malevolent intent, a municipal commission showed up unannounced. A troop of clipboard-toting inspectors began their methodical march through the hotel, their expressions inscrutable. They scrutinized every nook and cranny, from the gleaming kitchenette to the sturdy doors, even meticulously measuring the dimensions of the parking lot. My heart sank with each note they scribbled, each furrowed brow. By the afternoon, the head of the commission, a stern-faced man with a perpetually disapproving air, handed me a lengthy list of violations. "Fix these by the opening, or face hefty fines," he warned, his voice devoid of any warmth, before they all filed out, leaving a thick, suffocating air of tension behind. Barely an hour later, my phone rang again. It was Susan, her voice dripping with a venomous pleasure that sent a shiver down my spine. "Heard you had some visitors today," she purred. "Funny how things work out when you don't play nice." My grip tightened on the phone, my blood beginning to boil. "What are you saying, Susan?" I demanded, though a terrifying suspicion was already forming in my mind. "Oh, come on, Deborah," she said, her tone sickeningly sweet. "You're smart, figure it out. I have my ways and my connections. Give me those rooms, or things will get much, much worse." Seething with a righteous anger, I relayed the horrifying conversation to Tom. desperately hoping for some semblance of support, some sign that he was on my side. "Deb," he said, his voice irritatingly calm. "Just give her the rooms. It'll be easier for everyone." "Easier for you, maybe," I shot back, my voice trembling with disbelief and hurt. "Not for me, not for our guests. I'm not doing it, Tom. I'm not letting her win like this." He didn't argue further, but his silence spoke volumes, a deafening testament to where his loyalties truly lay. I spent the entire night poring over the commission's notes, my determination hardening into steel. I would fix every single violation on my own terms. I called contractors, frantically adjusted schedules, and rerouted a significant portion of our carefully planned opening budget to cover these unexpected and suspiciously timed fixes. Every action was a defiant act, a clear declaration that I would not be bullied, I would not be pushed around. As the contractors buzzed around, rectifying each item on the infuriating list, I couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of grudging respect for Susan's ruthless tactics. She knew how to play dirty, but I was learning fast how to clean up the mess and stand firm. The sun hadn't even fully risen yet, casting long skeletal shadows across the still empty lobby, and there I was at the hotel, double-checking every last detail. In just a week, we would be opening the doors to the public, and everything had to be absolutely perfect. I was meticulously adjusting a slightly crooked picture frame in one of the hallways when the front door slammed open with a resounding crash, the ominous echo enough to send a jolt of pure adrenaline through my already frayed nerves. I spun around, my heart pounding in my chest, and there they were, Susan marching in as if she owned the place, her face a mask of cold fury, with Tom trailing miserably behind her, looking like he wished he could disappear into the patterned wallpaper. "Deborah," Susan commanded, her voice cutting through the quiet morning air like a shard of ice. "Show me to the rooms. I want to choose the best one for my stay." I stood my ground, a volatile mix of anger and a chilling sense of dread swirling inside me. "Susan," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the turmoil within, "as I've told you before, we are fully booked. I can arrange something for another time, but not for the opening." Her face twisted into a grotesque scowl, and before I could react, her hand shot out, striking my cheek with a sharp, brutal force. The stinging slap echoed off the pristine walls, and a searing pain radiated across my face. I stumbled back, my hand flying to my throbbing cheek, shock momentarily overtaking me. Tom, my husband, the man who was supposed to be my rock, just stood there, his eyes averted, his face a picture of pathetic helplessness. "Tom!" I cried out, my voice a strangled mix of pain and utter disbelief. Susan was relentless, her voice rising in a venomous tirade. "You ungrateful little thing, I've given you so much, and this is how you repay me? I helped you buy your apartment, your car, even this precious little hotel. I demand the respect and recognition I deserve." My mind reeled, trying to process the venomous words. "Wait, what? What money are you talking about?" I turned to Tom, desperately seeking some semblance of truth in his shamefully avoiding gaze. He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously, his voice barely a whisper. "Deb, I didn't have the money when we bought the apartment. I took it from Mom, and I asked her for money for the hotel, too. I thought it would help." The room seemed to spin around me, the polished floor tilting precariously beneath my feet as his devastating words sank in. You used your mother's money without telling me? You lied to me?" The betrayal cut deeper than any physical pain. Susan smirked, a cruel satisfaction gleaming in her eyes. "Yes, and now I'll make sure I get what's mine. I'll sue you for half of this hotel. It should rightfully be mine." With those harsh, vindictive words, she turned on her heel and marched out, Tom following her like a spineless shadow, leaving me alone in the echoing hallway. The weight of his betrayal and the throbbing pain in my cheek, a stark reminder of the brutal reality. I leaned against the cool wall, trying to process the storm of emotions raging within me. How could Tom do this to me? How could he not only lie about something so fundamental, but also stand by and let his mother physically attack me without uttering a single word of defense? Once the initial shock had passed, a cold, hard anger began to solidify within me, pushing back the hurt and confusion. I wasn't going to let Susan destroy what I had worked so tirelessly to build. I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling slightly, and texted my lawyer, requesting an urgent consultation. Later that day, I received a terse text message from Tom. "Staying with Mom for now. Need some space." It wasn't entirely unexpected, given his spineless behavior, but it still stung, another sharp prick of pain in my already wounded heart. His absence made it chillingly clear that he was choosing to avoid the fallout from his mother's appalling actions and his own inexcusable inaction. As I lay in bed that night, the stark realization that my marriage was irrevocably over settled in with a deep, painful certainty. Tom had made his choice, and it wasn't me. The silence of the empty room amplified the profound emptiness I felt inside. But amidst the overwhelming heartache, there was also a strange, nascent sense of relief. I was finally free from the pretense of a supportive partnership, the constant underlying tension. Now I could focus solely on my hotel, on my dreams, without the crushing burden of familial betrayal weighing me down. The morning light was just beginning to filter through the blinds in my lawyer Mark's office, casting long, somber shadows across the polished floor. I sat perched anxiously on the edge of the chair opposite his imposing desk, recounting the latest threats from Susan and her audacious claim on my hotel. "Deborah, let's look at the facts," Mark said, his voice calm and reassuring as he flipped open the thick folder I had handed him. Inside were the meticulously organized financial documents and the prenuptial agreement Tom and I had signed before our marriage. "Based on this prenup," he continued, his finger tracing the lines of legal jargon that suddenly felt like a precious lifeline, "any property registered solely in your name remains yours in the event of a divorce." I nodded, my breath catching in my throat. "And the hotel is in my name, correct?" Mark confirmed, looking up from the documents with a reassuring gaze. "Yes," I affirmed, a small spark of hope flickering within me. "All the paperwork, the licenses, everything's under my name only." "That's good," Mark said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "It's very unlikely Susan's contributions, if any can be legally proven, would give her a claim strong enough to override the prenup," he reassured me, his confident tone a balm to my frayed nerves. A wave of immense relief washed over me, loosening the tight knot of anxiety in my chest. "So I can open the hotel without constantly looking over my shoulder?" I asked, needing the verbal confirmation. "Legally, yes," Mark affirmed. "Just keep everything meticulously documented, and let's hope it doesn't come to a messy family showdown." He offered a supportive smile, and the reassurance from Mark bolstered my spirits just in time for the grand opening. The day of the grand opening was a whirlwind of activity. I was at the hotel before dawn, helping Jenny put the final touches on the lobby, a nervous energy thrumming beneath the surface excitement. The lobby buzzed with anticipation, a tangible manifestation of so much hard work and long-held dreams. The first guests began to arrive, their eager smiles and excited chatter a reward in themselves, and the day slipped into a pleasant rhythm of warm greetings and smooth check-ins. That fragile peace was shattered by a frantic call from the front gate. "Mrs. Thompson, you need to come out here immediately," the security guard's voice crackled urgently over the radio. "What's the issue?" I asked, my stomach clenching with a familiar dread as I walked briskly towards the entrance. "It's your mother-in-law. She's causing a scene at the main gate." My heart sank. Not today, I thought, the carefully constructed bubble of my joy threatening to burst. As I approached, I could already hear Susan's voice, loud and imperious, cutting through the crisp morning air. "I am the owner, continue, of this complex. You will let my car through this instant," she demanded, gesturing wildly at the bewildered security guard, her face contorted with outrage. "Susan," I said firmly as I reached the heated scene, trying to maintain a semblance of calm despite the turmoil churning within me. "This area is for official use only. Even I park in the guest lot." "Don't be ridiculous, Deborah," she snapped, her tone dripping with disdain. "I'm not lugging my bags halfway across the property. I'm staying here and you will accommodate my needs." With a dramatic huff, Susan yanked her designer luggage from the trunk of her luxury car and unceremoniously dropped it at my feet. "You carry these to my room," she commanded, assuming I would meekly comply. Instead, I stepped aside, allowing her a clear path to the reception area on her own. The luggage carts are by the main entrance, Susan, I suggested, my voice cool and even, gesturing towards the hotel's front doors. Feel free to use one. Susan glared at me, her face turning an alarming shade of red. Without another word, she turned and stormed off towards the reception desk, leaving her expensive bags abandoned on the gravel. I followed at a discreet distance, my eyes narrowed, bracing myself for further unpleasantness. Sure enough, as soon as Susan reached the reception desk, she erupted. "I can't believe this, Deborah," she bellowed, slamming her hand down on the polished countertop, making Jenny jump. Her friends, a posse of similarly stern-faced women, glared over her shoulder at my poor receptionist, who looked like she desperately wished the floor would swallow her whole. "Mrs. Thompson, I'm so sorry, but as Deborah has told you multiple times, we are completely fully booked," Jenny stammered, trying to maintain her professionalism, despite the escalating scene and Susan's intimidating presence. The commotion didn't go unnoticed. Guests milling about in the lobby stopped to stare, some with raised eyebrows, others with their phones poised, undoubtedly capturing the unfolding melodrama. "This is unacceptable. I'm your family. You owe me." Susan continued her tirade, her voice growing louder with each indignant syllable. It was sickeningly clear that she relished the captive audience. I felt every eye in the lobby boring into me as I stepped forward, my own anger finally reaching its boiling point. "Susan," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the tremor of fury running through me. "That's enough. You're disturbing our guests. Please lower your voice or you will have to leave." Her eyes flashed with pure, unadulterated fury. "Or what, Deborah? You'll throw out your own family?" "Yes, Susan, if I must," I replied, my voice firm, louder than I actually felt. "This is a business, and I will not allow you to harass my staff or disrupt my guests. I will call the police if you continue to cause a scene." The threat of police involvement seemed to finally take her by surprise, a flicker of uncertainty momentarily crossing her enraged features. With a final dramatic huff and a venomous, "You'll regret this, Deborah Thompson," Susan stormed out, her equally incensed entourage trailing behind her. She paused at the doorway to shoot one last dagger-like glare in my direction. "You haven't heard the last of this," she spat out before finally disappearing. Once they were gone, an uneasy silence hung in the air before the lobby slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy. I offered profuse apologies to our understandably shaken guests and commended Jenny for handling the incredibly difficult situation with remarkable poise and professionalism. Despite the rocky and utterly infuriating start, the rest of the opening day went surprisingly smoothly. The positive feedback from our delighted guests and a flurry of new bookings lifted my spirits, a balm to the raw edges of my anger and hurt. The hotel, my dream, was finally alive, buzzing with the happy chatter of satisfied customers and the sweet hum of success. The following day, however, with the echo of Susan's ominous threats still ringing in my ears, I knew I couldn't ignore the potential storm brewing. Reluctantly, I called Mike, my father-in-law. I hadn't wanted to involve him in this messy family drama, but things had clearly spiraled out of control. "Mike," I began, my voice tight with anxiety once he picked up, "I need to talk to you about Susan. She's threatening me, and she made a terrible scene at the hotel's opening yesterday." I quickly recounted the appalling events. "Can you please help me? She's completely out of control, and Tom isn't standing up to her at all." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Finally, Mike sighed heavily. "I'll do what I can, Deborah. My wife, she respects very few things, but perhaps my interference might just sway her. Hang in there," he promised, his tone surprisingly reassuring. We ended the call, and I felt a tiny flicker of hope ignite within me. Maybe, just maybe, Mike could get through to her. A couple of days later, Mike called me back to arrange a meeting. He suggested a neutral location, a quiet cafe downtown, to discuss everything. As I walked into the bustling cafe, the sight of Tom looking pale and anxious, Susan pointedly avoiding my gaze, and Mike's stern, unreadable face set the stage for what I knew would be a decisive confrontation. "Thank you for coming, Deborah," Mike began, his voice firm as he gave me a curt nod. "Let's get straight to the point." Susan, unusually subdued under Mike's watchful eye, merely clasped her hands tightly in her lap, her face pale and drawn. First, Mike turned his attention to his wife. "Susan," he said, his voice leaving no room for argument, "I want this nonsense to stop. If you continue harassing Deborah or interfering with her business, I will cut off your allowance." Susan's eyes widened in shock, but before she could utter a protest, Mike cut her off sharply. "No buts, Susan. It seems you've conveniently forgotten that you don't have any income of your own. It all comes from me." I watched as Tom shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his mother's complete financial dependency clearly news to him, judging by his surprised expression. "And Tom," Mike continued, turning towards his son with a disappointed look, "I found out you've been less than truthful about your employment situation. You're out of a job, and you've been letting your mother take out loans to support your lifestyle." Tom's face turned an even paler shade of white. "Dad, I was going to tell you," he stammered. Mike sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose wearily. "I will clear those debts, Tom. But you're going to work for my company starting Monday, and every single penny you earn will go directly towards paying me back. We'll draw up a formal agreement." Tom nodded meekly, completely overwhelmed, but knowing better than to argue with his father in this state. Finally, Mike turned his gaze to me, his stern expression softening slightly. "Deborah, I am truly sorry for all this trouble. How are you holding up?" I took a deep breath, gathering my scattered thoughts. "I'm managing, Mike. Thank you for intervening, but I think it's best if Tom and I go our separate ways. I plan to file for divorce." Tom finally looked directly at me, a flicker of genuine emotion, perhaps regret, crossing his face. "Deborah, It's decided, Tom," I interrupted gently but firmly, not needing to hear any more excuses or hollow apologies. "We'll sell the apartment and split the proceeds. You can use your half to settle your debts with your dad." He swallowed hard, nodding in quiet resignation. "Okay, I understand. And just to be absolutely clear," I added, pulling a crisp copy of our prenuptial agreement from my bag, "you have no claim on the hotel. It was never part of our joint assets." Tom took the document, his eyes scanning the familiar legal jargon before he sighed deeply. "I got it. I won't fight you on this." Mike nodded in approval. "Good. I'll make sure he adheres to this agreement." After the finalization of my divorce from Tom, I found myself standing at the precipice of a new beginning. The sale of our shared apartment injected a significant amount of much-needed cash into my account, money that I was more than ready to reinvest in my future, in my dream. The hotel was thriving, exceeding my wildest expectations, and an incredible opportunity to expand presented itself. The neighboring building, a charming but slightly dilapidated structure, had just come on the market. I didn't hesitate for a single moment. "I'm telling you, this is the perfect spot for those family suites we talked about," I exclaimed into the phone, my voice brimming with excitement as I explained my vision to my trusted contractor, my eyes scanning the blueprints spread across the cluttered desk in the hotel's small back office. "Sure thing, Deb," he replied, his voice crackling slightly with static. "We can start renovations as soon as you give the word." As for my personal life, it had settled into a calm, peaceful rhythm I hadn't realized I'd been missing for years. The divorce, while undeniably painful, was a clean break, severing the ties that had been slowly strangling my spirit. Tom, I heard through Mike, was diligently working for his father's company, slowly but surely paying back every single penny of his debt. Mike, ever the stern, but ultimately fair father, was keeping a close eye on him, ensuring no more idle time or frivolous spending. "Deb, I just want to make sure he learned something valuable from all of this," Mike confided during one of our regular phone calls. He had become the unexpected bridge I still maintained with that side of the family. "I hope he does, Mike," I replied genuinely, meaning it. Mike had always been good to me, and it felt right to keep that connection intact. As for Susan, well, the last I heard through the grapevine, she had managed to pay off some of her mounting debts, but trouble, it seemed, was a constant companion. A mutual acquaintance gossiped over coffee one afternoon. "Can you believe she's already started begging Mike for more money? Always playing catch-up with that extravagant lifestyle of hers." I chuckled, shaking my head. "Honestly, Maria, I can believe a lot of things about Susan. I'm just incredibly glad it's no longer my circus." Life at the hotel was a vibrant, bustling symphony of happy guests and dedicated staff. The new building project was well underway. the sounds of construction now a familiar and welcome backdrop to my days. The sheer excitement of expanding, of creating something even bigger and better, something that was entirely mine, filled me with a profound sense of purpose I hadn't realized I'd been missing. Every decision, from the plushness of the new carpets to the whimsical design of the kids' play area, felt like another piece of my dream falling perfectly into place. One late evening, as I was locking up the main doors of the original hotel, Mike dropped by unexpectedly. He glanced around the busy lobby, a genuine smile gracing his lips. "You've really made something incredible here, Deb. It feels good, building something lasting." A wave of gratitude washed over me. Mike, you were a big part of getting me through all of the craziness, so thank you." Mike waved off my thanks with a chuckle. "All I did was stand back and watch you handle it all like a true champion. Just make sure you keep a room available for me from time to time." "You've got a lifetime pass, Mike," I assured him, and we both laughed, the sound echoing slightly in the quieting hall. As he left, I turned back to my hotel, the warm glow of the lobby lights casting long shadows through the darkness. It was more than just a building. It was a testament to a journey of resilience, of battles fought and won, and the beautiful promise of new adventures unfolding just around the corner. Valuable lesson. Sometimes the greatest obstacles we face come not from external challenges, but from the very people who are supposed to support us. Recognizing toxic relationships and having the courage to break free, even when it's painful, can be the catalyst for achieving our truest potential and building a future on our own terms. Don't let anyone dim your light or sabotage your dreams. Your strength and resilience are your greatest assets. What are your thoughts on Deborah's journey? Have you ever had to overcome unexpected obstacles in pursuit of your dreams? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story of perseverance and triumph, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring narratives.